Hey everybody, this is Customs for the Kid, uh, Darth Daddy and Elias, and we are here with Peak-OB1 Custom Creations just to say Happy Star Wars Day, May the 4th, and we figured we'd have a chat on and talk a little bit about Star Wars and about customizing and toys and what's going on. So Chad, how are you, man?
Hey, thanks for having me on, buddy. I'm
No
great.
problem.
I'm great. Good. Just enjoying my day off. I was originally supposed to work today, but they called me at the last minute and said you can have one more day off. And I'm like, great. What a day to have a day off, right?
Just want to let all the audience know this is mostly we're talking Star Wars, we're talking toys, but it is more an adult show. So any underage children, you definitely need your parents' permission if you're gonna be watching this. But yeah, getting back to the show itself, yeah, let's talk May the 4th. A lot of stuff
Right.
dropped today. You had Rise of Skywalker
Yep,
on
Disney Plus stuff, right? Yeah.
the finale of the Clone Wars,
Yep.
which I know you're heavily invested in.
Whew, man, it was
And
so good. It was so good. We won't give any spoilers. Did you guys like it?
I loved it.
very much, yeah.
Oh
I
man.
loved it a lot. I felt it hit me in all the feels in all the right ways.
So
And
emotional, right?
yeah,
For you,
I
it's
was actually I
got
was just about
yeah.
to say I can't wait for next week, but then I just realized that this
For
is
you,
it.
it's got to be unreal, right? You grew up with this show, basically.
Yeah. And like when it ended the first time, I was like sad, but I'm not so sad this time because this ending feels a little more timely and a little more expected and a little more on Dave Filoni's terms. And you can see that he really put a lot into this. So
Yeah.
I was really happy with the conclusion.
Complete package.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
still have not seen the Mandalorian documentary yet.
Oh, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I guess it's going to go on for a couple episodes.
Is it full 8?
I think it's going to be 8 episodes, and the first one talks about directors. That's really good. I liked it.
Yeah, I've been wanting to see it all day. I just every time I go to set time aside, something gets in the way, and I have not been able to.
The one great thing it did is it made you interested in watching the show again. You know, if you haven't watched it a million times already.
That I have done, yeah.
I want to watch it again so much.
Yeah. Did Hasbro make any announcements today yet?
Not that I've seen. Not that I've seen.
No, me either.
Do you think they're going to, or do you think?
I think we might get something, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I haven't seen anything either.
Yeah,
I heard that there were going to be announcements today, but yeah, I haven't seen it at all.
Nothing yet. Maybe later. Maybe later in the day they're going to do it. They're probably trying to let you invest in Disney Plus, and then they're going to talk about some toys, or maybe they won't because there was a little bit of weird reception, wouldn't you say, from their show.
They came under some heavy fire for sure.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that as well. And I did a little video earlier today showing my collection room on my Facebook page, and I was talking with myself a little bit about that. I think we need to come to a point where we're being productive or proactive in telling them, hey, we're not happy, but not shouting at them in a way that it's going to affect it in a negative way. I think we really need to try to find a balance somewhere. Balance the force, if you will.
Yeah.
I think the problem is in business, and especially the way businesses are set up to always profit.
Yeah.
That's always going to eliminate the balance because at the end of the day, profit is king. And when you keep trimming budgets to meet those profits, eventually there's only so much room, and then you can't go back to the way things were.
Yeah, and you know me, I have been angry for so long.
Yeah.
Angry, and I'm trying to turn over a new leaf because of that. What you just said, I mean, I know how business works too. It seems as of late, 3 3/4 is almost a loss for them. If they can make 6-inch the same amount, if it costs the same, why would they even go and make 3.75?
Yeah.
But for someone like us, for someone like me, for example, I just lose my mind when I hear that kind of thing, because I'm like, you can't disgrace or take down, you know, the classic, the legacy line, right?
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't think
I mean,
Star Wars can live without it.
There's so many, for a lot of people, the thing that was appealing about Star Wars action figures in the 3 3/4 inch scale was the world building. The fact that you could have vehicles of a certain, you know, several vehicles for that scale. Where it's 6 inch, it gets really hard. I mean, just look at the size of the TIE that they put out in the Black Series and the Snow Speeder that they put out in the Black Series. How much display room do people really have? Even in 3 3/4 inch, I get overwhelmed. But, you know, because I've been collecting all those years from all the lines. Like, to me, I'd rather, like, to see the Clone Wars ending and not having a Clone Wars line. Let's talk about, you know, you just did some really cool figures from for Corey.
That's right.
From Kessel.
We all did. All
Kessel
three of
Run
us.
Transmissions. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys did.
He was a huge Clone
job.
Wars fan that grew up
Yeah.
on the Clone Wars like Elias did, and he probably wanted what we all wanted, like new action figures in that line.
Totally. We always said, we did a show together, as you know, called Customizing the Clone Wars. And the reason we did it was customizing gives you freedom. You know, it gives you the freedom to do whatever the hell you want. You know, you get no red tape. You know, are we going to take a risk on this character? I mean, why haven't we had a Bo-Katan character yet? You know, I mean, she would dominate any scale, 6 inch, even Hot Toys and Sideshow, and especially the 3 3/4 inch, because people would just love to have that look in the armor, not let alone her facial, what she looks like underneath the helmet. You know,
Yeah, I agree.
I think I've been begging for that character like crazy. You know, and I gave him this big pitch, you know, at Celebration. I'm like, come on, you guys, it's a main character, you know. She's going to do a lot of really cool things over the course of so many shows. There's no risk in that character, really, at all, if you think about it.
No, I agree. Anything Mandalorian sells well. Even if you sold her, thinking of all the customizers that want to make an Ursa Wren or, you know, an armorer, and just be able to take parts here and there to make, you know, other figures.
Right.
It's a slam dunk.
Totally. And that's where my conspiracy tinfoil hat kind of thing comes into play, you know. And I think for the people that are more in the know, you know, they understand that they're not going to let the foot off the pedal with a 6 inch, because if you make anything a little bit more interesting than 6 inch, then they're losing that battle. Unfortunately, we are in a little scale war, so I call it. I'm constantly calling it a scale war, because they forced us to pick sides, you know, and it's a shame, you know. Yeah, there are a lot of people that collect both scales, but that's not to say that they're trying to push you in one direction, which is bad. Because
in some ways it's been good for 3 3/4 inch collectors, because I have seen the value of our collection skyrocket. You take any 3 3/4 inch figure, especially like Clone Wars, $65 for something we paid $6 or $7 for, and that's loose.
Right.
You know, like 3 3/4 is still in demand. So in that regard, it's a benefit, but
maybe to people that have big collections, but people that want to get into it, now they're screwed.
That's the problem. They can't.
They're screwed because the secondary
priced
market
out of it.
Yeah, you know, I have people saying all the time, God, I want to get that character, but it's $150 on the card. I'm just like, I got it for $5, you know?
Yeah.
Long time ago. Not even a long time ago. That's another problem, you know. And I don't want to be negative on this great day that we're having. You know, it's definitely something that we need to continue to talk about. We need to keep going to places like the Vintage Collection on Facebook, and just keep posting not so much our disappointment, our disgust. We need to try to be proactive and say, hey, please listen to us and try to get a little bit more intense about making both scales worthwhile. I think if they threw us a bone, we would, leave the 6-inch alone a little bit. It wouldn't come under such scrutiny, if they played along with us too,
I wish they had reversed, like, from a collector standpoint, I wish they would release less 6-inch, because you're never going to get a complete collection anyway.
Right.
Any one of the films, we don't have Bodhi Rooks, we don't have Zebs. They always say stuff like that's coming, but you just have all these partial setups.
Yeah.
If you want to display it, but you don't really have a full cohesive display for it, for any of this, for anything. And it's going to be a long time before you get there. So that should be, for super main characters only. Dryden Voss shouldn't be in the 6-inch. He should be in 3 3/4. Just the way they're doing it. If they want to really pump out a certain character and produce things in large numbers to make a profit, do it that way. Don't waste slots in the vintage collection, hoping to just swamp the 6-inch market.
Yeah, I used to say that about 6-inch too. I was like, it shouldn't be a replacement. It should have been in addition to. Yeah. I always thought that it meant that they were gonna go, oh, here, this is how great we are. We have our awesome 3 3/4-inch collection, and then we have it like an ultimate type of character, like a Luke that's so good that you can go, oh, I'll buy that also. But it hasn't become the case, and I think that's what hardcore 3.75 are starting to face now. We're starting to really get disappointed because they're really trying to push it out. They're pushing it away, and they're
just trying to just do huge runs of what they already had. Yeah. And get it, recycle old stock, or do a large number of something like the Luke and Stormtrooper, put half of it out last year, put it on a single card this year, and just do things more in bulk.
Yeah.
Invest in only new heads, put it on old bodies.
Yep. That's been the thing since 2012, since they ended the collection way back when, at the end, the fall of the golden age of Star Wars collecting, the Black Series that came out in 2013, 2014, and that's pretty much what you're seeing today, has just been a mishmash of kit bashing, head swaps and repaints and whatnot, and they
reissuing Black Series.
Just reissue this stuff over and over and over again, and we're just like, that was kind of, in a way, that was kind of the worst line, because they were doing that kind of thing. They weren't really giving us new stuff. They were just giving us a head sculpt, and it wasn't really enough, so much so that we kind of pulled back from it. And there was this huge, I don't know if it was an attempt to try to make us not like it, because the 5 POA seemed like something like that, because you saw the de-evolution of figures, and you're just like, are you joking? This for that? And it's shocking, to see what we've gotten over the years. You can go and look at Luke Ceremonial, from 1997, and then just look at all the different Luke Ceremonials, and you're just like, maybe that's not a good one, but like a Darth Vader or something, or like Bosk. You can look at Bosk and see how poorly he's translated over the last few years, because I don't know, maybe they want to focus on 6-inch, and it's disappointing, because truly, to hardcore fans, there's nothing that's going to replace 3.75, and I think they should either get rid of it and let people do 3.75, like other companies.
Disney. That's what I was kind of hoping for. The way Disney sells them at the parks, not so much that they could have Hasbro make them, but then they're really dictating what gets made, rather than leave that decision to Hasbro, because I don't think they're doing that end of it responsibly. They're not doing justice to 3 3/4, or what that line. There was almost a commitment in the past of what the expectations were when a movie was released, at least this many vehicles, or this number of figures, and I think with Star Wars, you always had a lot of the background characters, but
Mhm.
people did want those. And when you're not even putting out major villains from movies like in the Rise of Skywalker
It just
or
cheapens it a lot.
Dryden Voss.
That was just disappointing because Solo's probably one of my favorite Star Wars movies like ever.
This is
And
turning into a sad Star Wars case, guys.
it is. Well,
So let's talk. Like, we could talk a little bit like Rise of Skywalker that drops today on Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that was. I actually just watched it in 3D the other day.
3D, that's interesting.
Yeah, because yeah, I have the VR headset for PlayStation 4, and you could play 3D versions of movies. So I have all the Star Wars ones in 3D, as you know. Except for they don't offer the original trilogy, and even though they released Phantom Menace in 3D, that is not one of the things available in 3D, which is strange.
Yeah, at least they put it on Disney Plus. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. Cool. And I did enjoy this one more, I think, than like out of this, I guess the sequel films, this is the one I enjoyed the most. I think I like the whole thing about them going on an adventure as a group, kind of pulled you into like elements of A New Hope for me, and that was really nice. And I connected more to Rey this time, maybe because we saw Poe vulnerable, we've seen Finn vulnerable. I think this is the first film that we saw her vulnerable, so it made her just more human and easier to connect to, where before she was just like, you know, kind of cold and distant.
Yeah. She was great. She was great in the
She was really good in this.
They were all really good. You know, even Adam Driver, he was actually really excellent. You know. But
yeah, I liked it all across the board. I thought it was entertaining.
Yeah,
I mean, some of the story choices, that's something I could cover for like the whole trilogy, but overall, it was all the films were entertaining.
I don't have many complaints about that movie either. I think there were like a few moments here and there that I thought were like a little corny, but you know, aside from all of those, I'd say it's a great story. It's told well, and it does connect with some of the nostalgic elements of the original trilogy. So
cool. And the Mandalorian, like if they ever want, you know, input on how to take Star Wars going forward, I think the Mandalorian gives some really, and this last season of the Clone Wars, especially the season
Mandalorian. Mandalorian's future, I'll tell you, they really had some great building in that, you know.
Oh yeah, very likable characters, very interesting villains. Very enjoyable. I like the direction that Star Wars is going in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. Happy. They had a lot of world building, story building, character building, everything that you needed. And I think that was due to Dave Filoni, of course. You know,
yeah.
We think he is the king, don't we?
Yeah, I let me tell you, I am very thankful for all that he has contributed to Star Wars. I mean, I wouldn't be friends with you. I wouldn't have the relationship with Elias that I have. I mean, I wouldn't have been an action figure customizer probably.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have had this collection. A lot of things would have gone differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely back to the toys. I think we definitely need some Mandalorian toys. People would love that. People would love that.
Why don't you show a picture of your Bo-Katan real quick? Just to give Hasbro an idea of what they should be doing.
Little incentive.
Just be like, if this was our May the 4th, this is what we'd be giving you.
Let me see what I can do. Let's see here. Wonder why.
Let me check to see if everything on this ends.
Let me close this up here. Let me see if I can pull it up. Caught me off guard a little bit. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I absolutely love Bo-Katan. She's a great character. Like I said, she has a lot of great looks and vibes on the way she's supposed to be.
I agree with what you said about that. They really couldn't go wrong with her. She's very low risk, And they consistently get requests for her. So I
Do they
just
really?
don't understand. I think no matter what kind of like hole they've dug themselves into financially, if they even did like a small release with less figures, high quality like Bo-Katan figures, and they just did like a shorter or less supply of it, I think it would do well.
Oh wow, that looks wonderful.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
If
really good. That's beautiful.
anybody wants like a recipe and whatnot, you can PM me on my Facebook page or Instagram. Really, I basically made her with an Aura Singh figure from the Clone Wars, and a lot of sculpting went into it. You're like all the armor and whatnot, all the gauntlets, everything was just straight sculpted. And
Man, this is bringing me back to the customizing the Clone Wars days.
Yep. The great thing about customizing the Clone Wars, if I can just plug that real fast, was just the idea that they really could have taken that collection and did a bunch of repaints. What Hasbro really wants to do in general, as a company, they want to take a character, they want to re-release the character and repaint it. They could do that with Clone Wars toys all day long. All day long. They could have made like weird characters and whatnot. There's one without the helmet.
Wow, that's really cool.
And that is an Aura Singh head, believe it or not.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Hair makes a difference.
Yeah, and that's that great polymer that we were using, that Procreate.
Did you see that you can't get the Procreate in the United States anymore?
Really?
I had to order from England last time I ordered.
Huh. Well,
I'm still waiting on it, but
here's a Darth Maul for you.
Ooh,
This is just an example of some of the things that I think we should be seeing, lately. But people ask for commissions now, and it takes an army of figures to make something like this.
Yeah. And when the price of those figures are going up in price so much, it's like, oh yeah, I need this $65 figure, and that's not all the parts I need,
And it is disappointing. It's like stifling the collecting community in a sense, because
I could tell Hasbro. I mean, just since our figures were on display with Corey, easily we've probably gotten about 50 requests for people wanting customs. Like I think you got like 17 in one day, and it's like people
get
want
busy.
this.
Get busy, man. You should take advantage of it. Not just to get commissions or whatever. That's not really why I do it. I just do it for the fun, the joy of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of the requests were for the Siege of Mandalore Ahsoka, and I don't mind that because she's like easily.
You don't mind it now.
She's my
third
favorite.
time you'll be like, no more.
But as far as customizing goes and getting fodder, getting Ahsoka characters to make a figure is really hard to get, don't you think?
Yeah, it is.
Like getting Ahsoka figures and whatnot, right? Even those Darth Maul figures, it's tough getting those figures in general. Yeah, but
we ended up making a mold of Ahsoka's head, so now every time we need to do anything with her, we can just press
I wish we did it with the other one.
I know. We didn't have time to do that. He needed it for his review video, so we had to send it out before we got a chance to mold it. But next time, because I've definitely got the requests for it, next time I make a Siege of Mandalore Ahsoka, I'll have to make a mold.
Yeah, a lot of customizers are leading the way. All the best work comes from the fans these days, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. I'm definitely seeing that. There's a lot of talented people doing a lot of cool things right now.
Yeah.
I'm learning with the 3D printing. There's just so many print files that you could, print things out. Right now I have Lothcats printing. They should be printing up in the next like 24 hours. But yeah, there's all these files like $3, $5, and you could just print it right at home and then paint it up and make whatever you want. And lately I've been posting a lot of stuff like that just because I want to promote customizing. And if people do have 3D printers at home, hey, here's a a place where you can get a file and, you know, make something at home. You don't have to try and hunt down a figure. You don't have to, you know, run to the, like, try to find things on the pegs and, or buy something for a really expensive price online.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That sounds
things are
cool.
changing.
We're big advocates for the DIY. So
Yeah, I've seen, like, there's Wado Scrapyard, sorry.
no,
Yeah,
why don't Scrapyard? They're great.
they're doing like really cool head sculpts in 3.75 and the 6-inch scale, that you could just throw on existing figures and use stuff like Procreate like we have.
Yeah. And there's always there's other stuff, not just Procreate. You can still use Crane stuff. You can still use Fixit. You can still use other things like Milliput and some of those other things that a lot of people use, you know, just to be as creative as you can be. You know, I saw somebody making a creature of some sort. I think it was one of those characters from the episode 2 Attack of the Clones. It was like that big green creature. It might have been a 6-inch, but you know, I love seeing people get really creative with what they want out there, what they think should be out there. And like I said, you know, they have stifled it so much because they want everything to work for the 6-inch first and then trickle down, which it doesn't work ultimately because they're so different. You know, they should focus on main characters in 6-inch, but continue giving us innovation and keep giving us interesting, risky for them characters in the 3 3/4-inch, like Bo-Katan. But it's not really risky because
you're always going to have completionists.
Yeah, people would buy it up, man. People would buy it up. You see Brent.
Yeah. Even a casual fan might enjoy Bo-Katan. She's just badass, and people like her.
Right. Or even like a Sugi or something like that. Sugi the Bounty Hunter. You know, when you see these interesting characters, not just female characters, you know, any character, you know, creatures too. There's not enough creatures in the background. And then you can repaint them. You know, you can give a whole bunch of different repaints. But like I said, with the 6-inch, not everything is going to work in the 6-inch. If you remade like a General Madine from Return of the Jedi in a 3.75 and put him on a vintage card, people go crazy. Yeah. But if you made him in a 6-inch, they'd be like, I don't really like
how you feel. That's the way I feel about the Akbar in 6-inch.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like that's a risk if you ask me. But it's not a risk to them because they use that other Akbar from the other line. You can tell they just kind of
double dip.
They're double dipping and they're doing what they do best. You know, they're refurbishing what they have on hand, and it's just kind of like, come on, do some work.
Shrink the budget, you know, increase the profit.
But like I said, I'm pro. After we get out of where we're at right now in time and history, you know, we're in the shutdown and everything. I want people to grow. I want people to have a new point of view and try to come together and figure out a way to have both 3.75 and 6-inch. I would prefer 3.75 only because it's the only true scale. But
now you have the Galaxy of Adventure too.
Yeah, and that just doesn't make any sense to me. But if we could all get along, then maybe we can make all that work as long as there is equal ground for everything.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
the ratio is like 5-1 for the announcements on Friday, wasn't it? 5 6-inch,
pretty much.
1 vintage, and the 1 vintage was actually not even new.
Yeah.
It was a recarding.
Yeah, a lot of 3.75 is not new at all. I mean, there's hardly any new 3.75.
Yeah.
In reality, you know, if you're a longtime collector, you know this, but newer collectors might not realize this. You know, K2SO is generally new. He's more like a shrinky-dink type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, where they just simply shrunk him down. I'm pretty sure it comes down to these computer files that you were talking about, these 3D files. If they don't have a 3D file to work with, they're not going to make it. They're not going to render it. It's too time consuming to render these brand new figures, and that's what's happening. So I'm thinking K2SO was a shrinky dink. You know, the wolf was on relatively not liked body, you
Yeah.
know, and it was
the Rex body, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was merely a head sculpt and a helmet sculpt and a repaint,
Yeah.
and I guess to them that's a big deal, and I still ordered it even though I really hate that body,
Yeah.
because part of it was based on the 5 POA body, the comma and everything. That's why
I would have preferred the cloth.
Yeah, I'd prefer cloth too. They need to be doing that. That's what, in my mind, that's what the 2011, the 2010 through 2012 vintage collection was all about. Adding soft good elements to the toys, not just going, hey, we're going to put this figure on a vintage card and that's why it's special. And that's really not why it's special. It should have been, they're going all out to make these vintage collection figures.
And there shouldn't be scale issues
Nope.
in the vintage line either.
No, that was the problem with that body that you're just talking about. When Commander Doom in the Black Series and Rex and the Wolf came out, they were all different sizes.
Yes.
And we were like, what? This is silly.
Yeah, it's almost like polluting the line.
Yeah, the Rex didn't have a helmet, that was removable. The helmets were too small.
Yeah.
I can go on and on and on about how bad those are. I don't even have that Rex because I hated that Rex so much.
So much.
I hated that Rex so much.
I remember that.
The Clone Wars one was way better. And they waited a whole year before they gave us the real articulated version with the knees and everything.
Yeah.
In the Yoda line that was in Europe. You know what I'm talking about, that one?
Yeah.
The kind of the Rex. He had it was a little bit larger helmet, but I liked it. It was better. It was better than the one in the Black Series. The Black Series just kills me. They just keep selling the Black Series. I mean,
I know.
Repack something not from the Black Series. That's what I want.
Or if you're going to do the Padme.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They're going to get to those figures. There's still a ton of figures from the Black Series from 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
That they can
but I think there are I'd like I said, I'd rather have prequel characters on the vintage because they deserve to be there. I'm getting sick of the OTC. Please issue the last of the 92 so we can let OTC
move
die
on.
for good and move on.
Let the past die.
Yeah. It's I have plenty of OTCs. I don't need another Luke Skywalker again in my entire life, no matter how nice it is.
Right.
Are you going to take my other 12? So, for this nice one, I just don't want them anymore.
What do you want on a vintage card?
I'd like to see things from Solo. I'd like to see, people from Maz's.
Maybe just the prequels.
Yeah,
not a whole lot.
You don't really need a lot of prequel characters though, and I'm not.
You guys want to see sequel characters? Is that what you're saying?
Some sequel would be nice, and more Rogue One. I'd love to have some more people from Saws, Bib Fortuna's cousin. What was his name?
Don't know.
The Twi'lek down in Saws.
I forget. Yeah, I know what he looks
really
like.
Cool looking though. I would like a figure of him. Even the one that Warwick Davis played,
oh yeah,
he would be cool.
We don't even know their names, do we?
No, I wish I did. I mean, there's just so many names to remember in Star Wars. I have the books,
totally like it.
I can get them when needed.
This is usually when I'm supposed to be filming.
Yeah.
I lost your name.
And when it comes to Clone Wars and Rebels, there's just so many that could be made.
Yeah, Elias, can I ask you a question? Do you like the sequels? It had an impact on you that so much that you would like more toys?
The way I feel about the sequel trilogy is a little interesting. I think I enjoyed each movie a little more than the last, but because the foundation was a little shaky, I think it was harder for me to connect to the characters, and my desire to build my collection there wasn't as much as it was for the Clone Wars. Right. Which, I mean, in my opinion, because I was a kid growing up on it, it just never faltered. The Clone Wars can never do any wrong because it's perfect in every way.
Yep, it pretty much is.
But I think of course, like I'd want a little more building in the sequel trilogy. There's things that I feel should have been made that never were. And I mean, I was able to fix some of those things myself, luckily. I mean, I feel bad for some of the people who aren't customizers. You know, customizing is a great power in the sense that if you really want something that's not there, you can add it to your collection with just like a few days of good work and it'll happen, you know?
Yep.
But
Yeah, I think they should at least got one more wave of the Rise of Skywalker.
for sure.
It was pretty unprecedented that we didn't.
We didn't even like.
We didn't even get the heroes.
I would have loved like a Palpatine or
A Lando.
And I don't feel like a Palpatine, if that's too much to ask. Granted, it shouldn't be. At least give me a Kylo Ren with a cracked helmet.
Yeah, that's kind of a shock, you know, seeing how little they got or how little attention that movie did receive. And I think a lot of it comes from just the major loss, and they did take a major loss in all the merchandise from the Disney properties, you know, from Solo.
They chose to do 5 POA.
Yep. That wasn't going to work.
You go backwards, you're going to get backwards profit. Figures like that were worth $3, and you're only, you know, at the end of the day, you could have all that overstock, but you're only going to get $3 prices.
I think they got burned with all those toys, and I think that's why we didn't get those toys in the end. You know, we just got.
I think it was a self-inflicted wound.
I agree. You got to learn what people like, you know, instead of just putting out stuff. You know,
you can't put out what's good for you. You have to put out what people want to buy.
Yeah, because I know I'm cracking on Rise of Skywalker and that there wasn't enough release, but like there were great things in that line, like Zori Bliss and the Knight of Ren. Those were great.
We needed more Knight of Ren.
We got those.
I know.
We got those.
Like I only get one knight. I mean, like he's cool. He's like probably the coolest because you know he's got a Mandalorian battle axe. Mad respect. But you know things like Zori Bliss, like the not so major characters. I want that.
Well, we got her. You didn't get her.
We all want a lot of Mandalorian going forward.
Oh, absolutely. I think they should stick with what's relevant. You know, as far as toys go, I don't know why we can't, you know, go with deep cuts like other companies are doing. You know, you look at DC or you look at Marvel, you know, you see these weird characters like
We
Hydra
shouldn't be
Man
getting Luke and Stormtrooper armor when you have
Yeah.
the Mandalorian out and you have the Rise of Skywalker out.
Exactly.
It's like, why are we still talking about the New Hope?
Yeah, there's a lot of things they should be doing that are a little bit more relevant to the time.
It's at this point, like if we're going by relevance, it would be hard to go back and even right the things they did wrong. Because at this point, it's like, you know, is The Last Jedi even that relevant anymore? There's a few things I'd love to have from that, but I'm probably never going to get it.
Probably not. I think people are kind of moving on. I think things move so fastly in this day and age.
Yeah, things moved way too fast, and it was sad because they moved on from something that was relevant before even doing it proper justice. And now it's like kind of at a point where even if they did want to go back and add in things that we really wanted, they still probably wouldn't sell well because it's not in the public eye.
Probably not. So yeah, I think, like I said earlier, in the future, I think we should all come together somehow, some way, and try to get in touch with these folks. We're trying to do it in forums and groups, you know. In the vintage collection, we see a lot of people, they come in. There's a lot of negative in there, a lot of positive in there. I think we should start trying to level with them somehow.
We need to have an organized rebellion.
Well, it has been a rebellion for sure for a lot of us, you know, for 3.75 collectors.
We saw the writing on the wall as soon as the announcement was made.
Yeah. Oh, if you know, I've been collecting pretty much my entire life, you know, so 25 years for the modern, and then all the time when I was a kid, when I was a little kid, you know, it was just great. You know, 3.75 seems to be what makes it work. You know, so much so that Hasbro changed their 12-inch G.I. Joe dolls to reduced scale to make it fit along the lines of the Kenner-esque, you know,
And that's when
good guys,
G.I. Joe
bad
was at its
guys.
height.
Yeah, exactly. And it became the most successful line ever because they just kept going. They kept making them. And back in 1995, that was their mentality. They're like, okay, we're going to bring Star Wars back, and we're just going to keep making them, keep making them, keep making them. And that's what made it so successful. Now that they're just limiting what we're getting, limiting the type that they want us to, you know, because, you know, I'm not going to say who, but they're definitely paying people off to try to get them to lean more towards 6-inch, and it's disappointing. It's disappointing because it is the legacy scale, or 3.75 is the legacy scale. That's all I can say. I'm going to continue to make customs with 3.75 and collect 3.75, fill my holes, fill all the holes in my collection, and that's where I'm going from here on out.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
It definitely does.
Very cool.
But yeah, thanks so much for coming on with us today.
Yeah,
And
I appreciate it.
Yeah, happy Star Wars Day, everybody. Chad, let everybody know where they can find you.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, you can find me on Peak-OB1 Custom Creations, where I am making customs along with you guys. You know, I'm just enjoying the Clone Wars, enjoying everything. You can also find me on Instagram at Peak-OB1 Custom Figures. That's usually the two places where I'm at. Yep.
And you can catch all of us tonight on Kessel Run Transmissions on the Victory and Death, was it?
Victory and Death.
Yeah, Victory and Death Roundtable.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
We'll be discussing today's episode. And Elias and I are also doing a Q&A tonight on Instagram at 6 p.m. So if you have any questions for us, you want to know anything about Customs for the Kid, the collection, I don't know, whatever floats, you know, whatever.
We'll be online.
Yeah.
You can ask us there.
You know, I don't know if it'll last 2 minutes. I'll try and stay on as long as possible in case some of you are running late. I don't know if anyone will show, but we'll be there. Anything else? That's all I can think of. You could find us at customsforthekid.blogspot.com. You can get all links to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and Pinterest on our blog. And you could also catch the show that we do with Chad, Customizing the Clone Wars, which we highly recommend. And that's in our sidebar as well, full playlist.
If you want to watch our live stream tonight on Instagram, you can find that at customs_for_the_kid.
Take care, everybody. And
May the force be with you.
Yep. May the 4th. Whoop, whoop.